The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." And the Lord said, "If you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, you could say to this sycamore tree, 'Be rooted up and be planted in the sea,' and it would obey you. Will any one of you who has a servant ploughing or keeping sheep say to him when he has come in from the field, 'Come at once and sit down at table'? Will he not rather say to him, 'Prepare supper for me, and gird yourself and serve me, till I eat and drink, and afterward you shall eat and drink'? Does he thank the servant because he did what was commanded? So you also, when you have done all that is commanded you, say, 'We are unworthy servants. We have only done what was our duty.'"
At the end of a school assembly I had just taken, a school teacher once came up to me and said, "I'm so envious. You are so lucky having a religious faith." I wasn't entirely sure how to reply to that remark, because her assumption that having faith was basically a matter of luck seemed to me rather odd. It was as if she regarded faith as some kind of celestial goodie bag which God dispensed arbitrarily. Yes, you can have it, and you, but not you. But then people do have rather strange ideas about the nature of faith sometimes, including, it should be noted, the followers of Jesus. At the start of our gospel reading today, the apostles say to Jesus, "Increase our faith." Again, their assumption seems to be that we are passive recipients of something that God dishes out to us, which means that we can request more of it. But I wonder what they were expecting in response. "Certainly," said Jesus in response. "Here you are. Have another couple of scoops." Surely faith doesn't work like that. If I were to ask everyone in our congregation at St Bride's why it is that they have a Christian faith, you can guarantee that there would be a host of different answers, because our faith journeys are as unique and as individual as our life journeys, and because we are also in very different places on that trajectory. There are those among us who have lifelong Christian faith, who are very clear and confident about their commitment. There will be others among us who are still very much at the exploratory stage, still not entirely sure what to make of it all. And there'll be those who are somewhere in between those two. But I suspect that despite this vast and varied spectrum, there are some common threads, some things that, to some degree or other, we all share. The first is that it's very likely that central to our own exploration of the Christian faith has been another person or another group of people who have at some stage, either in the distant past or very recently, opened our eyes to it. Indeed, there is an old and very astute saying that Christianity is caught, not taught. Perhaps it was our parents or family members. Perhaps it was the influence of a school teacher or a minister or a friend or a member of our peer group whose example left us feeling that there was something in this faith business that we needed to explore further. As it happens, one of the other readings set for today is taken from the second letter to Timothy, in which Timothy is told this: "I am reminded of your sincere faith, a faith that lived first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and now, I'm sure, lives in you." In other words, Timothy grew up in a Christian household with the example of 2 generations of Christian commitment before him. People were involved. And that was certainly true for me. I can identify several individuals whose influence and inspiration was absolutely pivotal, some of whom I had known for years, but one of them was a young girl I bumped into accidentally on a course when I was in my early 20s, whom I've never met since. Timothy is then told this: "I remind you to rekindle the gift of God that is within you through the laying on of my hands. For God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline." Rekindle the gift of God that is within you. Faith is a gift of God that dwells within us. It is there, latent within all of us. But we are not simply its passive recipients. We have to do something with it. We have to enable it to be set alight. That is why how we respond to that gift is key. So, what are those moments of ignition? Again, they will be unique for all of us and can take many different forms. But significantly, they will be moments of connectedness, moments when something happens, whether inside or outside us, that evokes a response in us that can prove life-changing. It might, for example, be a moment of beauty and wonder. I remember a student friend of mine describing how, as a sixth former, he was camping on a remote hillside as part of his Duke of Edinburgh award. In the middle of the night, he looked out of his tent and saw something that simply took his breath away. Above him was a dazzling, clear, starlit sky, all the constellations clearly visible. That unexpected vision of the wonder of creation and the boundless heavens simply overwhelmed him. It was a glimpse of infinity that touched his teenage soul so profoundly that he knew at that moment not only that God must be a living reality, but that he could no longer live his life without God at its very centre. Or the trigger point for us might be a moment of crisis or catastrophe, or utter despair that has us crying to God from out of the very depths. Some of you will remember the TV chef of Two Fat Ladies fame, Clarissa Dickson Wright, whose memorial service we held here at St Bride's. Her life was extraordinary in all kinds of ways. She grew up in a violent and abusive home. She experienced a devastating bereavement when she was in her early 20s. She was, in turn, a massive workaholic and a massive alcoholic until the whole of her life completely unravelled. And she describes how one day she was on her knees, struggling to clean burnt jam off the quarry tiles on the kitchen floor, when she found herself saying, "Okay, God, if you are up there, please do something, because I really can't go on." And from that precise moment, a sequence of extraordinary events began, which led to her rehabilitation and made possible the completely different future that unfolded for her. Apparently, her mother had always said to her, "Leave it to God, Clarissa. He has a much better imagination than you do." And that turned out to be the truth that she was to discover for herself many years later. Note again, by the way, that there was a person of faith behind her faith journey too, in that case, her mother. Or it could be something much less dramatic, a kind of divine niggle, an inexplicable sense that leaves us feeling that we just need to find out a bit more. Or a wonderful piece of music that holds us riveted, or a poem that touches our soul. But our role in the process can never be entirely passive, because there comes a point when we have to discover the truth of the life of faith for ourselves by living it. Similarly, faith is increased not because we are awarded another scoopful of it, but rather as a consequence of living out that faith, of testing out its claims, sometimes in the most challenging of circumstances, so that we can discover for ourselves the wisdom of Clarissa Dickson Wright's mother. Leave it to God. He has a much better imagination than we do. Amen.